And then I fired it right back up. And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. Now, God cursed the ground after Adam sinned, Adam and his wife, right? And they had to plant stuff. I mean, hey, it was terrible. It wasn't as easy as it was in the garden. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. Only one in there, it did not say, and he died. That was Enoch. Enoch was, they called it translated. He went to be with God. Why? Because it says here, he walked with God. He sought God. Now I'm going to say this again. If you diligently look for God, you will find him. Enoch did. And he walked, all his days he walked with God. Wow, can you imagine how nice that was? What did God do for him? What kind of a relationship was it there? How happy was this guy? And Noah was 500 years old. 500 years. And Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Those are his three sons. How many people were in the ark that were saved? There was Noah and his wife, there's two. 3 sons. And their wives, so that's 6. So there was 8 people, right? 8 people went in the ark, which is a big boat. Now it talks about all the animals coming to the boat. When Noah was told by God, hey man, you got to get in the boat now because I'm going to make it rain. And he saved all the animals. They came 2 by 2, male, female, the clean and the unclean, all this kind of stuff, right? Everybody thinks, like when the horses went in, the elephants, hippopotamuses and everything, they didn't come to him, I don't think, in their adult form. I don't think they were huge animals. I think they might have been babies. Maybe the little children animals, Because Noah had to put food in there for the animals, all the hay and all the stuff that was feeding the animals. Do you think there was adult lions in there? Maybe they were little kittens. You don't know. Doesn't really explain that here. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. And then we read about that earlier. That's when all the evil stuff was happening. And there was only evil continually. That's when Noah was told to build the ark, because God was going to bring judgment. He also brought judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah. One of the main things that they were doing wrong in Sodom and Gomorrah was like what's happening in many of the cities and towns of America today. All the homosexuals. Now, I guess homosexual means lesbian too. Gay, LBGT, or whatever the heck that stuff is, I don't know. How can you be born a guy and think you're a girl? Now, I don't have that in my head. I don't understand that. I don't try to understand it. But I do know, it says in here, that that's one of the things that God does not like, homosexuality. But in America, the laws say you got to leave them people alone and even help them. Kill your own babies and bring in the Muslims and the communists, but kill the Americans. Don't let the good thrive here in America. Why? Because Satan is in control. But all is not lost because God is still in overall control of the earth. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. All this stuff belongs to God. Everything that I have here. I'm in this little room. It's 21 minutes after 2. I've been sitting here for a couple hours doing this. I'm in this small room. God promises to be with me. I can't see him. I can't hear him. But being as how God is everywhere, and especially him living in me, know ye not that your body is the temple of the living God? The Spirit of God, his life, is in here. Now, because I have stuff going on here in my chest, you know, the clogged arteries and all that kind of stuff that's giving me problems, I'm counting on him to keep me alive long enough to take care of my wife. Because she has other things wrong with her. So there's one thing I know that's going to possibly take me out. And there's another thing that's going to take my wife down. And hers is, I can't say it's worse than mine. It's just different. But I want to be able to take care of my wife. I don't want to die first and leave her alone. I think I'm a little bit stronger than she is. And if she dies first, then I'll be able to handle that better. And I'll be able to take care of her right up until the last day. That's what I want to do. Now, guess what? God knows my thoughts. He knows what I'm thinking. He just heard what I said. Now, here I am sitting here talking to myself in this computer. And because my friend, my techie, is going to send this out there on YouTube, other people are going to hear it. Now, I haven't mentioned my name or somebody else's name. I'm sure some people will recognize who I am and they're going to know. But I'm sharing some personal stuff, and why do I do that? I'm trying to get you folks to understand that you can't be bashful in front of God, because he knows anyway. He hears your prayers before you send them out. It says it right here in the book. That should encourage you to even pray more, to pray all the time, every day, to talk with God and to teach his commandments to your children. He tells you to do that. All my kids know about God. I'm not saying all of them are walking the path in there and everything's hunky-dory. I'm not saying that. Each one has their own cross to bear. And they're all different. Oh, man, they're different. I got some tough kids. I also got a couple of daughters that have problems. They're going to get through it. What's important to me is surviving so I can take care of my wife. I love reading this book. I could just flip this page. And here I just flipped it over to Genesis chapter 25 and verse 29. And automatically, when I just saw verse 29, it came to my remembrance of what this is talking about. It's when Esau sold his birthright. What does that mean? You really should read this stuff. And Jacob sod pottage. Far out words. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. These guys were brothers. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Esau was the firstborn. He was supposed to get the blessing from his name escapes me. Abraham's son. Isaac. Isaac was the father here. When Isaac was going to die, he's going to put a blessing on the firstborn. But what does he do? He ends up giving it to Jacob. Now, I understand this story. I remember it. It's been a while, 2003, since I read this, and here it is 2017, so that's quite a while ago. It's more than 10 years ago I read this. 14 years ago. Not that that was the first time. But that's the last time I wrote on here. But how many times have I gone through this? It's all marked again and again and again. I try to tell you, for 40 years I've been reading this book, more than 40 years. And it's all marked here. This is how you walk with God today. Back in the days of Enoch, in the beginning. All right, let's jump into something else here. Now, when Moses brought the people out of Egypt, all the other people that lived throughout the lands, they all knew what was going on. They knew that Pharaoh was chasing these guys. And they knew that the armies of Pharaoh perished because they drowned. Everybody knew that God was protecting his people. And there were a lot of people that came out of Egypt because they were there for 400 years. And they were marrying all the other people, having babies. Unlike what's happening in America today, Planned Parenthood. I know the first time I saw a Planned Parenthood place, I mentioned it to a friend of mine. That was back in the middle of the 70s. I said, hey, man, guess what I just saw? I just saw a place that has Planned Parenthood. They teach you how to be a parent, you know. And I talked for a couple of minutes, and he was looking at me. He says, and he mentioned my name. He said, that's not what that is. That's a place to go and have an abortion. Now, I was so ignorant back in them days. I said, what do you mean an abortion? What's that? That's where you can go and kill your kid when you get pregnant. I said, are you nuts? He said, yeah. And then within the next few days, we talked about this for a little bit. And I talked with his wife, and she told me, yeah, that's where you go and you can kill your kid. Now, I think it was legalized in 73, that Roe versus Wade, when the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can legally kill your baby in the womb. I didn't know any of that stuff. My wife gave me 6 kids. That was from me. 6 of them. Whoa. We didn't kill any of them. But she had a couple of miscarriages. I don't really understand why that happened. But I know for one thing, when she gets pregnant, that was life. And the miscarriages, that life did not die. That went back to God. That's the spirit, that's the breath of life that was in. They weren't out breathing, but there was life in my wife. You understand? And those children, the same as the ones that were aborted, the life is still alive. The flesh perished, but the life did not perish because that's God. So anybody that had an abortion, let me tell you, that life that was in you, man couldn't kill that. They think they can. They just killed the flesh. They discarded the flesh, and they missed out on a lot of blessings that they could have had if they allowed that child to grow. All right, I always talk about that Planned Parenthood because it's so rotten. It's 100% evil. That's what's happening in America today. Kill the Americans and bring in the Muslims and the communists. That's what they want to do. And that black communist Muslim is still alive, and that's what he wants to do. He's still trying to get evil people in our government. Chuck Schumer's a leader in that. Same with Pelosi and a lot of them scumbag people. All right, I gotta go. I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable talking right now because I hate evil. The word says eschew evil. Turn from it. Hate it like God does. That's it. Okay, I'm done for now. I'm going to shut this off, and my techie will send them out there so you guys can listen. Hey, it's with respect I talk to you people. Absolute respect. But I got no respect for the evil ones. Here we go.